Assalamu alaikum, bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. The movie The Lady of Heaven was released in countries like the US and the UK, a very small selected group of countries, on December 10th. The release was relatively quiet. It was in the movie theaters for 2 to 4 weeks, but not a lot of people watched the movie. As expected, there was a lot of discussion and angst regarding the release of the movie amongst the Muslims. And I would like to classify that when I say Muslims, it was a very minority of Muslims because majority was oblivious to the movie even being released on December 10th. But the angst was around the fact that it might fan sectarian tensions and divide the Ummah, as questions about the author and funding were raised. There were countless arguments made to avoid watching, supporting, and even discussing the movie. It has been 3 to 4 weeks since the movie was launched, and none of the concerns have materialized. But we lost a critical test, a test for all humanity, Muslims, Shias, speakers, centers, and all those who believe in the holy status of Sayyidah Fatima Zahra and who cry on the musibah of Ahl Bayt alayhi salam. In the past 4 weeks since the movie came out, many people have shared their reviews about the movie. These reviews can be divided into 3 groups. First group is of broader Muslims who disown the movie's narrative because they say that these are not validated by Sahih traditions. The second group are people who have provided critical reviews, and these can range from the movie being non-coherent, meaning there are a lot of references but not a lot of details. The movie showed the faces of the Prophet and Imam Ali alayhi salam, even though doing so is not prohibited by any from a religious perspective. The movie did not exclusively focus on the life of Sayyidah Fatima Zahra. The movie would have caused tension between Muslims based on how certain personalities were depicted. And then one other aspect is, what's the point of showing parallel stories between what happened to Sayyidah Fatima Zahra and today, and so on. So these are all part of the second group called the critical reviews. While this movie received mixed reviews from the populace, I personally think this movie cannot be compared to any other contemporary movie. Hence, the same review methodology cannot be used. In fact, this movie was not a movie at all. And this takes me to the third group, a group of people who saw the movie from the lens of Ma'rifah. What do I mean by that? These are people who were overwhelmed by seeing the actual events unfold before their own eyes and were totally absorbed by these events. The events that were hidden for 1400 years by the systematic oppression of the ruling class and were coming to the light for the first time in over a millennium. The movie highlighted 3 aspects of complex Islamic history. The first aspect deals with the historical accounts of events that unfolded during the life of the Prophet and are not discussed among the Muslims, such as nomination of the Prophet's successor at Ghadir, attempts on the life of the Prophet, interests, divisions of Muslims after the death of the Prophet, and what transpired till the death of Sayyidah Fatima Zahra. Secondly, it shows the life and the events surrounding the death of Sayyidah Fatima Zahra, and also highlights the majesty and grief of Ahl Bayt alayhi salam. Now, I would like to highlight whether this movie was complete. Were there limitations? Yes, absolutely there were limitations. Is it possible to add additional events? Yes, it was possible. For example, let me name a few. In order to show the valiant Bahaduri, the valor of Imam Ali alayhi salam, the writer could have added battles from Badr, Khandak, Hunain, in order to show when people ran away from the battle or kept quiet. Khaybar, Khandak, Hunain were best examples. In order to show the stature of Imam Ali alayhi salam, it was easy to show how he was given the Surah Bara, Surah Tawbah, and he took it back from, or he was asked to go and present or give it to Makkah instead of Abu Bakr by the order of Allah. It was easy to show the event of conquest of Makkah and the breaking of the idols. In order to show the real faces of the Sahaba, it was easy to show what happened, what transpired at the Treaty of Hudaybiyah when the second caliph opposed vehemently, and also to showcase how the second caliph prevented paper and pen to be given to the Prophet when he asked for it. These are all in Sunnah and Muslim books. And then the majesty of Ahl Bayt alayhi salam, the author could have shown the event of Mubahala. But honestly, it's practically impossible to share all the details in a couple of hours. So I would like to say that the movie created a picture of how things unfolded at the time of the Prophet. But it is just the beginning. It showcased the role of the main characters. And it is enough to push the inquisitive mind to start the investigative journey to decipher the truth. It is the start of the journey to understand what happened at the beginning of Islam and to remove the facade of chivalry and taqwa from the faces of certain iconic Islamic figures, and to lay the foundation of Islamic society based on haqq without uncovering the mask that has hidden the true reality, the hideous early days of Islam after the death of the Prophet. One can never realize what actually happened and who is on the right path. And lastly, I would say that it was also a test of the awareness. It was a test of the awareness campaign. A campaign that we started few years ago. And there's a lot more work to be done. Because the outcome and the angst and the stress among the Shias was very difficult to comprehend. On one hand, we share the story of what happened on Sayyidah Fatima Zahra. On the other hand, we talk about not talking about these things. So let me give you a review from my heart how I saw the movie. No script, some pictures, and what I saw. The movie starts when you show a father waiting for her daughter, a brother waiting for his brother, building the Mosque of Quba while the brother and daughter cover a treacherous terrain through the deserts of Arabia to reach him. Once they reach, the Prophet enters the city of Medina only with 2 family members, 1 brother and 1 daughter. There are celebrations all around when the Misaq Medina is announced, when people are cherishing the arrival of the Prophet. Then the holy marriage happens, the marriage which is celebrated in the heavens, the marriage for which people are forgiven, the marriage of which the Masumeen and the Imams will come. Then the battle of Uhud is presented, a battle in which there are thousands of kuffar. I saw an army coming with equipment that was far advanced at that time versus an army which is ill-equipped. I saw a person, a warrior, valiantly fighting for the cause of Islam to the point that his sword is broken. I saw an uncle looking at his nephew while a Negro person throws a javelin through the chest. I saw the Prophet seeing both his brother without a sword, his uncle being killed, raises his hand to ask Allah for help and receives Zulfiqar. I saw the Zulfiqar in action as if it was going through the army, and the army came down. Then I saw the archers leaving their position and Khalid bin Walid taking the horses from the back. I saw the Muslims, because of their greed, being killed and then retreating along with everything that they had to the mountains. And then only the Prophet and couple of companions, including Imam Ali alayhi salam, were trying to fight for the cause of Allah. Then I saw the mother of Muawiyah and the grandmother of Yazid eating the liver of Hazrat Hamza and drinking the blood. I saw the holy household in the event of cloak when the Prophet brought everyone and the entire universe shrunk. The heavens and the residents of heaven, angels and all the beings saw one light beaming from earth and asking, who are these? When Allah says, I've not created anything except for these five. I saw the event of Ghadir when 124,000 people were sitting in a gathering and the message was being relayed from one person to another so that the successorship of Imam Ali alayhi salam is announced. I saw people taking bay'ah one after another at Ghadir. Everyone saying congrats to Imam Ali alayhi salam. One of the best days of history. Then the dark days start. I saw in a scene that the Prophet, the Noor in the world, Rahmatul Alameen, on his deathbed, with his two grandsons on his chest, his daughter and his brother beside him, and he's telling what will happen to all of them and asking them to be patient. Then I saw a brother crying on the dead body of not only his brother, but on the Messenger of Allah. The biggest grief that this brother is seeing is that disconnection to Allah, the discontinuation of Wahi, the end of an era. Then I saw while Imam Ali was concerned with the burial of the Prophet, people were gathered in Saqifa. They were arguing about having Khulafa other than Imam Ali. I saw Imam Ali come with his Quran in the mosque and being rejected. Then I saw Ahl Bayt alayhi salam going door to door. Going door to door, Imam Ali, Imam Hassan, Imam Hussain with their mother Fatima Zahra, door to door asking for help. But then only 4 supporters came. I saw this happening in front of me and I couldn't do anything. I couldn't be one of the supporters. Think about what they were feeling at that time. Between just 3 months, the support went from 125,000 who gave bay'ah to only 4 supporters. What happened to them? Did they have a change of heart? Or they forgot about Allah and the Prophet? Then I saw the ruler taking Fadak by force. And Sayyidah Fatima Zahra coming into the court, asking for her right and being rejected. And then something happened that shook the universe. People gathered on the house of Sayyidah Fatima Zahra. They argued to open the house. Then they told the people to burn the house. Then they ordered people to push the door. As Sayyidah Fatima Zahra stands behind the door, she slapped, kicked, and is on the ground. As she is on the ground, Imam Ali alayhi salam is taken as a captive. She runs to the mosque, saying that if she is not released, she will go to the chamber of Rasulullah and do the badwa. Then I saw a mother crying for her dead son. I saw a father making a small grave. I saw two brothers seeing the mother crying. Then as I saw all of this, I felt very helpless because I couldn't do anything. I can see my grandmother crying, but I couldn't do anything. I see people standing on the door of my grandmother, and I couldn't do anything. I saw an enemy of Allah hitting my grandmother, hitting the Lady of Heaven, hitting the daughter of the Prophet, the Hura and Siya, and I couldn't do anything. I saw her lying on the floor, blood coming from her, and I couldn't do anything. I saw her in the court asking for her husband, and I couldn't do anything. I saw a husband looking at the blood, tied in the ropes, and I couldn't do anything. And then Imam Ali kept taking Fatima Zahra to the house of sorrow, where she used to cry because the Muslims didn't allow her to cry in the home. And then came the last few days where she conveyed her message: do not allow anyone to attend my funeral. And then the nur of Sayyidah Fatima Zahra was extinguished. That flame was extinguished. The nur lives today. Imam Hassan and Imam Hussain, Sayyidah Zainab and Kulthum were orphaned. Then I saw a burial at night when my Imam was sitting helpless. There was no one. He had just lost his beloved brother who had raised him as his father. And he had just lost his beloved wife. His right has been usurped. He's left alone in this world. And I couldn't do anything. It was the most tragic realization of the events of that that unfolded after the Prophet. If there is anyone who has any heart, just realize that she was the daughter of your Prophet. She is the leader of the women of the world. And that was the review. I hope anyone who sees the movie now, and I beg you to see the movie, they see the movie from the lens of Marifa. Don't be critical. It's not a movie. It's a historical fact that you are blessed to see. It is a sign of Allah that was never present before. It has never happened. When you see that and you realize what happened and you see things happening and you cannot do anything, and then you think, what would they have felt had they had any supporters? They were so helpless. May Allah give us the marfa of Muhammad Ali Muhammad, and give us the tears that we may shed in the marfa of Allah and Muhammad Ali Muhammad. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.